Correspondent Zein who is in Doha for us, because just in the last few moments, we've had multiple explosions here in Qatar. We've heard them in the skies above the Doha skyline. We felt the newsroom shake. Zein, what more can you tell us about what's happening?
Well, it's just gone past 12 o'clock local time in the afternoon. About 10 or 15 minutes ago, we heard just about 2, 3, 4 explosions. We came out, we looked into the sky. You can see that familiar smoke of where the interceptors, the Patriot missile systems, have hit what are either Iranian missiles or drones. It's unclear at the moment exactly what they were targeting, but we do know that there were munitions coming in over the skies of Doha, once again in the central part of the city, over the skies, and those were hit. And then you can see the puff of cloud from where against the sky, once those interceptors take out those missiles and rockets and drones, you see a cloud of smoke in the air that is shortly after that swept away. It started with 4 strikes about 15 minutes ago. Then we heard in quick succession another 6 explosions, and now that we're speaking, at least more than a dozen, maybe 20 different booms. Now, one thing we should tell people is that if there are that many loud explosions that you hear, it isn't necessarily all interceptions happening in the sky. The Patriot missile systems themselves, the defensive weapons, other than that Qatar operates, also make a great deal of racket when they are launched. So what you may be hearing, especially if the explosion is louder, if it feels closer, then those are likely those defensive weapons that are going off. That is outgoing fire. That is not necessarily does not necessarily pose any danger. But what we are seeing is those explosions are being effective. Those munitions are taking out, intercepting those missiles and drones that are coming in. And what we're seeing once again, that is happening closer and closer to the central part of the city. People are reporting seeing this in the skies over neighborhoods like Al-Sad, like close to where the U.S. Embassy was evacuated earlier today. Clearly, there is a timeline to this. The U.S. evacuating those neighborhoods around the U.S. Embassy. We still don't know what the target was of this latest barrage, but it is safe to say that there is a sequence of events playing out here. So the threat, certainly, from what we understand of the actions of the U.S. government, of the ministries here in Qatar, the actions they take do illustrate that the threat certainly remains. So, as always, we should continue to watch and observe the different messaging coming from the government. They continue to advise people to stay out of open areas, stay away from windows, and that's good advice considering these attacks seem to be closer and closer into central populated areas, and these interceptions continue to happen over heavily populated civilian spaces.
Zein, it's interesting because we're very much guessing what Iran's strategy is regarding the Gulf countries after that initial onslaught of strikes. It's been relatively quiet the last few days. Qatar, I believe, hasn't had any strikes in at least 48 hours. So these latest strikes will come as quite a shock. Just talk us through what the thinking is from leaders in the Gulf about what is going on, because there is a concern, isn't there, that they may even join, they may stop from just defending themselves, but might actually get involved with fighting back.
Well, the Gulf countries have reiterated they do not want to be drawn into a war that is not theirs to fight. Now, from Iran's point of view, there are no innocent actors in the region. These Gulf countries are allies of the United States as far as Iran is concerned. They are harboring U.S. forces. They facilitate them with bases and resources, and that is how Iran sees it. Now, there is a lot more gray area. That gray area tends to get erased when conflicts like this erupt. So Iran has crossed out red lines, crossed out gray areas. They are launching these attacks. And there is, again, when you talk about a sequence of events, it is significant that this latest barrage, again, we heard over a dozen different explosions. It'll become clear exactly what happened when the statement comes out from the Ministry of Defense and exactly what was coming in, what they hit. That'll become clear down the line. But for the people living in the city, what they heard was over a dozen explosions in the skies over their homes. And it follows closely after a very sort of seemingly tense conversation between the foreign minister, Basravi of Iran, and the foreign minister of the state of Qatar. Let me give you a sense of some of what was said in that phone call. Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani. Just more explosions now. We can see the gray smoke trail there just to my left in the sky, and multiple explosions once again. It is audible. It's getting to about 24 different explosions at this stage. In that phone call that Iran reached out to Qatar with, Qatar's government categorically rejected the assertion that Iran was not targeting Arab neighbors, that it was only targeting U.S. assets. It went on to say that since the attacks included the vicinity of Hamad International Airport, infrastructure, industrial zones, civilian areas, LNG and oil production, it is clear that this is a flagrant violation of international law. And these explosions follow what was a very tense phone call between the foreign ministers of the two countries.
Okay, just a reminder of what's just been happening. We are hearing multiple explosions here in Qatar's capital, Doha.